that when we are born into this world, we choose the parents of which, whom we come to. And he describes my mother's ways and my father's ways to a T. And I'm like, yeah, that's true. So what is your opinion on
Of
that?
course, that's the case. You see, and you talk to your sister, and she'll be able to explain all of this to you in great detail, right? And if not, you let me know, huh? But in any case, what happens, you see, uh, you must have to understand that when we talk about these Bardos, we're talking about a kind of sequence that mind moves through in this uninterrupted continuation of existence. The mind is moving through this Bardo of life, then it moves through the death Bardo, then it moves through the afterlife Bardo, then it moves through the karmic and becoming Bardo, where we take on all of the stuff that dictate our next rebirth. You see that cycle, that wheel? That is called a Bhagwan in the East, or the wheel of life and death. In any case, where we select our parents is in that Bardo right before this one, right? The fourth Bardo, the karmic Bardo. Because karma is in reaction to our fears very often. Because when these things start rising and you get afraid, like how you run now, you run then. And wherever you run into, usually become your womb. And in that womb, and it's really what you will find though, is that you will see your mother and father copulating, you see, and you will start feeling an attraction. For instance, if you're born female, so that means that your attraction in that Bardo was to your father, you see, and that's why you got a female body this time. Men, we were attracted to the female in the couple, and we get a male body. And that you can begin to see enters into the dynamics even in the unfoldment of your family of origin. It is very profound. So the astrologer wasn't, misleading you very much, you see, in that respect. So yes, we do select our parents based on our tendencies, you see, our karmic tendencies, our pre-inclinations that we have. And just as your children have selected you. There's deep connections in it. If you don't have no children, then your brothers and sisters have. It's not by accident that you and Vernita are in the same family. You see, it's not by accident we're sitting here. It's not by accident that all the human beings on this planet at this time is there. It's very it's profound, sister. It is profound the things that these mystics have come to know as a result of their spiritual insights and practices. And they have tried to leave that wisdom to us in the form of guidelines to follow so that we too may attain Buddhahood or Mohammedhood or Jesushood. Not just be followers. This is a very wrong notion. Very wrong notion. The objective is to become a Muhammad, to become a Jesus, to become a Buddha. Not one less than that. Otherwise, what is the point? Imitation is an ugly phenomenon. Be original. You see? That's the whole point. And these great blessed souls, have left us with so much. Some of the higher teachings, even some teachings that are even more profound than the Buddha, was left by the Dakini, the women mystics. Ooh. You haven't tasted mysticism until you had a woman cook it for you. Huh? But you don't know nothing about that. Because this is a patriarchal world. And men have suppressed all of the great teachings of the great women mystics and sages. You see? But they're still there for those sisters who are ready for them. Yes, Dorothy?
Okay, is there ever a case when, if you choose your parents, you're not choosing them out of fear, but if some higher whatever tells you it's time to be reborn, and you make a conscious effort to select that person? And if so, what about if a person chooses a parent out of fear and maybe you choose the wrong parent and maybe you don't feel that you fit in? Is that the case of somebody choosing a parent out of fear?
It's a lot of things. You see, what happens in that Bardo is unique to each individual. So I don't want to give you the impression that these general remarks that I've been making apply across the board in the individual basis. it's a kind of individual, even the length of time in the Bardo. Sometimes people stay 49 days, some will stay 3 years. It's kind of varied. But one of the things certainly, Dorothy, that occurs in that Bardo is the selection of parents that have spiritual quality. Sometimes your merit is that you will take birth with poor parents that have virtue and quality. That is a blessing, you know. And sometimes you will wait long time, you know, to select the right parents, right? Now, Bilal tells the story that when he was in the Bardo, he waited because my mother had a certain gentleness with animals. Seeing her down on the farm as a little girl, you see, he was very impressed with her, you see? And so he waited around in the Sipo Bardo until this little girl grew up and got married and then entered her womb. And because of his great respect for her natural virtue, he took the body of a male. Natural. Now, this is what he said. I don't. You have to ask him. What about me? You have to ask him that story. Right? But sometimes you go through that selection process, you know, and then maybe Sadarji looking and say, well, damn, if this mystic is going to that family, I'm going to that family too. And so he will stand on one leg for 10,000 years in that Bardo to be born, you know, with a person that is going to be enlightened. So we have many options, you see. Yes, Khadija.
Do the people that get what we call truly dysfunctional families or abusive parents, is this just a simple bad choice that they made, or is this, or what could they have been attracted to? Could people like mass murderers, let's say back to Jeffrey Dahmer, they attribute some of his traits to early childhood experiences, parents separating, being left alone at a very early age, or something like this. What was that involved in his decision, or is that just an incident, or what about the people that have this bad
Well, you see, everything that we do at that point is done with the intention of contributing overall to our spiritual growth at some point in time. Even the things that looks bad, you see, are being selected at that time. Because at that time, see, we can see into the future. You can't see in the future here. In that Bardo, you can actually see. And therefore, out of that ability to see into your future, you can better plan your own evolution. You know that I'm going to need to suffer. I'm going to need to develop this ability because 10 lifetimes from now, I'm going to be entering into great yoga. And so I need to now be able to withstand a lot of physical suffering, something of that nature. You see, it's hard to generalize about this type of thing.
You ever need to kill a lot of people?
Of course. Well, what you calling killing? You see what I'm saying? You're looking at it from your human ego perspective. You see, you're killing now as you talk. Billions of germs are dying, right? So, I mean, from a cosmic thing, you know, it's not like that. And it's very difficult, Khadija, for us to understand these things, you see. But in nature, death is a reality. Death is happening all the time. Now, some tiger goes and eat a wild buffalo. I don't call that tiger evil. It's a reality. Now, Hitler killed 6 million people. White people kill 100 million black people. Some murder here. Yes, it's horrible and all that from one level, of course. But this is life. Someone may kill you, or you may kill somebody. You see so many things here. So it is very hard to try to project onto God our own morality. Can't do that. Or to project onto the big system our own little things. It's not like that. All that we can understand that is whatever is happening to you, it is happening to you for a couple of reasons. One, if you can understand it, it'll make you a more spiritually evolved individual. If you can take a full advantage of it. If not, you see, it will just generate more suffering, which of course itself will make you a more spiritually evolved person. Because sometimes you need to suffer. You need to suffer sometimes. Sometimes suffering is the only thing that can teach you. You see, sometimes the Gita cannot reach you. Sometimes the Quran cannot reach everybody. The Bible cannot reach everybody. Those souls that are a little bit more evolved, that are a little bit more intelligent, Now, with them, just a few words from the Bhagavad Gita, and they can understand. Just a few surahs from the Quran, and they can understand and get in line and become spiritual practitioners. You see, just a few psalms is enough, depending on the level of spiritual development. But there are some of us who are so spiritually retarded, so spiritually uninvolved, so unintelligent, that even the teachings that have been left to us by these great mystics can't get through. And so for those like us, now we have to be hit with suffering. Suffering. Now it's interesting. It's not sometimes a cruel suffering. In the Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna said, those whom I love the most, I send them my three boons: suffering, sickness,
and dishonor.
And dishonor. Those are boons: suffering, sickness, and dishonor. Those are blessings. Those that Lord Krishna said, now those disciples that I'm really nuts about, those who are close to my heart, those who are like my own prana, like my own children, he said, I send them this. Why? Because that suffering knocks you out of your maya. That suffering tears your little ego up. Nothing cures your ego tripping like a good dose of suffering. Is that right? Huh?
Is that why the prophets or the people that's in the book, most of their lives with a lot of suffering before they got to?
Yeah. You can hardly read the life of any mystic where you won't find a period of suffering. Because suffering is the great teacher. It is the real Quran. It is the real Bible. It is the real Bhagavad Gita. So sometimes, Khadija, this suffering is necessary for some of us. It's very necessary to get through, to break down that ego, to get you out of that ego trip, to get you out of that illusion, get you out of your delusional state, right? Yes, sister?
Last one.
Last question?
Last one.
We're getting close to the rain.
Some people go through life and it seems like they never really have any suffering. Things always seem to go their way. I mean, I know some people in my family, they've never gone through any suffering.
You're not insinuating this, you hear? Huh? Huh? You're not saying it, huh? All right.
But I have suffering. And I wonder, everything just goes, it just seems that way. I don't know all that.
Well, the emphasis is on seeing. And that you're looking from your perspective. The reality, and that's one of the other truths that you need to reflect on. We talked about impermanence, and by a deep reflection on impermanence, and how that turns your mind in the sense that it starts detaching you and detributizing your life. Well, one of the other great things that you got to look at, when you look deeply into the nature of life, you'll see the truth of suffering. That's the next great truth. Try to see that. Everything is suffering. People are in denial. They're hiding it. People are just like you, miserable, but you hide that. Sometimes even your sister don't know how much you hurt you. It is your pain. You cover it. You secret it. And they don't know. You see? And you put on a strong face because a lot of times you don't want to depress other people. You don't want to bring them down. You don't want to become burdensome. But that doesn't mean that you don't have your own pain. And the next insight beyond impermanence is to see the nature of suffering and see the reality of suffering. And why are people suffering? People are suffering because people are ignorant. We're ignorant. Suffering is that clinging. We're clinging to that which cannot be held on to. We're grasping for that which cannot be grasped. We have mistaken the unreal for the real, and we've mistaken the impermanent for the permanent. And that is bound to generate a lot of suffering. Yes, and we may hide it, but it's happening to all of us. And one of the insights you have to see is this universal occurrence of suffering. Because if you understand that, that triggers your compassion. That's the first thing. It makes you compassionate. Because the person need not come and confess their suffering to you. You understand that. You can feel it. You can feel it because you are in it. It's throbbing. It's an interdependence there. There's that connection there, you see. So that is another thing, the suffering. This is a big topic, this suffering, and you will do well to reflect on the nature of suffering and the ending of suffering. The nature of suffering and the ending of suffering. How do we go about ending this suffering? To let go? Yeah. Go now, just keep deeper. You're in the right direction. Now just go deep. Go deep. Go deep. Don't leave. Sit there today until you got that answer. So we have two assignments. Somebody's gonna give us, this brother here gonna give us the answer on fear, and you're gonna give us the one on suffering. Boy, we're lucky today. One last question. Vernita has the. All right.
Oh, no, I was just thinking when you were talking about that, how we face our fears. I guess I was kind of thinking of the phobias that a lot of people have over something like a rat.
Yeah.
I mean, but how it seems like part of the purpose of our life is to get over all of the fears and phobias we have now, so that we won't have to face them. That.
Well, certainly you have to go through the fear. I will tell you a little secret. Fears are very often like dragons. They hide treasures. It's almost as if the Lord has hidden the most precious thing behind fear, knowing that only the most serious seeker will be able to go through the fear to get it.
Something like a phobia of a rat or a spider or something.
Well, that's a little fear. That ain't major stuff, huh? Right? Those are psychophobia. And I mean, those are little things, but even